Next, we have Qualys' Senior Product Manager, Kapil, and Humana's Associate Director of Threat and Vulnerability Management, Dominique Dixon, to discuss how to empower your teams to make sure they are always audit-ready. Anu and Dominique, hope you're ready as the stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kapil, Senior Product Manager here for Compliance Solutions. So who here likes audits? I figured. Audits are like the fire drills that were happening this morning that actually didn't happen, but it causes the fear of unknown. The moment an audit is announced, everything becomes urgent, super urgent, because it's audit, it's fire drill. You have to go out. You have to take care of that situation. So for many companies, failing an audit is not just an option. It can cause the business operations to stop. It's a risk to the business. While vulnerabilities can be managed, audit failure can bring those business operations to a standstill, threatening the entire business enterprise. Now, Sumit says that audit is boring, compliance is boring, but compliance is a business enabler. It's more than just a checkbox. The real cost of non-compliance to an organization is very high. Okay. All right. So let's talk about why compliance is challenging. Silo tools, data sheets, Excel sheets, manual work, effort, cost involved, and most of the organizations have at least 5+ frameworks and compliance requirements. And with the audit compliance requirement evolving and being complex, it takes a lot for organization to stay compliant to one and not even 5 at the same time. So for instance, if you have a password management control that you need to operationalize across your entire organization, you need to make sure that you put in tremendous amount of work to assess that control for all in-scope assets involving your on-premise, cloud, containers, databases, middleware technologies, and mobile devices. Once you get the data from all these siloed tools, you need to put some amount of work to correlate the data and merge that into Excel sheets. Then again, you need to map that data to the compliance requirements. So imagine all that for one control for one framework. Now, if you're a bigger organization, you have 5+ compliance framework requirements. That means you have to do all this again 5 times. That means you are always in a continuous audit-ready mode. Now, that brings another challenge. Let's say you have a compliance solution already running on your on-premise assets or clouds, containers everywhere. But what if there are middleware assets and instances running at default or non-default location? Let's say you have a file that has been unzipped to an unknown location. Then that would not be assessed for compliance. And 32% of the mission-critical assets are usually not assessed for compliance, which is the recipe for audit and compliance failure. Along with that, the misconfiguration is usually disconnected with the risk element, and in addition, IT teams owns the remediation, whereas security teams owns the audits. That makes the mean time to remediate even more higher. Now, if you have any tool that's running a compliance framework, like any free tool that comes with most of the vulnerability management solutions, and you are just planning to assess your CIS benchmarks, then only step you are doing at that point is just assessing the CIS misconfiguration and reporting them. However, you also need a tool that would not only does the assessment, but also identify those middleware instances running it all over your compliance surface. Along with that, once you have the data coming in, how would you prioritize your misconfigurations? Or how would you mitigate the risk by remediating those misconfigurations? If you have a GRC tool, you basically have a blank canvas. You need to map all your requirement and put in the effort to map those to the framework. All that And the most interesting point is that the cost of the free tool compared to the manual efforts you put in would always be higher than this free tool. So basically, you need a tool that not only does the assessment at the number 2 point, but also does the discovery, assessment, prioritize, respond, and reporting at the same time. Let's talk about the solution. Policy Compliance is an end-to-end configuration management solution that reduces compliance and security risk at the same time. It provides out-of-the-box policies that can be configured and customized along with creating your own controls and customized for internal and external regulations and authorities. So with the help of Policy Compliance, you'll be able to discover, assess, monitor, track, and report to all the frameworks. Now let's dive into each of these points. With the intelligent auto discovery and deep discovery, Policy Compliance will be able to find all your middleware instances like JBoss, Tomcat server, web servers, all your application running at default as well as non-default location, and assess them for compliance. You will also be able to tag them using CSAM or asset inventory and classify those mission-critical assets and assess them for PCI compliance with Policy Compliance and generate report and be audit ready for PCI 4.0 or any of the framework requirements. Now here in this true risk score, as you can see, my true risk score right now is 523 because the data that has been coming in was initially correlated with vulnerabilities and asset criticality. It did not have the misconfiguration data baked into it. So once it was patched, the true risk score came down to 523. But what about the misconfigurations? What if there is SMB port open, which might lead to WannaCry ransomware? In that case, your true risk score would again increase to 800 or 900. So now, with Policy Compliance and true risk integration, the misconfiguration data is getting baked into the true risk score, which will give you the real visibility into the true risk, and you will be able to prioritize the risk of your compliance failure based on asset criticality, control severity, MITRE, various mandate frameworks, and ransomware exposure. With Policy Compliance, you'll be able to start and stay compliant with a predefined library of remediation policies for FedRAMP, NIST, PCI, ISO, GDPR, HIPAA, and others. You will be able to be compliant with the golden images that can be baked into the CI/CD pipeline so that the non-compliant failures does not reach production. At the same time, now we have the auto remediation capability that I'm going to show in the demo after, with which you have the script library available with Policy Compliance for free that can be used to remediate all your control failures. And with the ServiceNow ticketing and integration, you can close the gap between IT and security teams and communicate the same to your GRC teams. We have a new audit-ready mandate-based reports, which auditors love. Who likes Excel sheets? Gone are those days when auditors would like the Excel sheet and you have to pull in all the work to submit those spreadsheets, which has more time, effort, cost, and of course, human errors. So Policy Compliance provides these ready-to-use audit-ready mandate reports, which provides a visibility of your technical as well as procedural controls in the same report with a pre-built library of 90 to 100 plus mandates. And it ensures that you are always audit ready. When it comes to documentation, as per the survey from Deloitte, most of the companies spend around 20,000 hours yearly on compliance-related documentation. And 30 to 40% of these requirements in any compliance framework are related to compliance documentation. So with security assessment questionnaire, we simplify that by providing a library of out-of-the-box templates that can be used to report against most common mandates like NIST, CIS, HIPAA, GDPR, and others. And we also provide out-of-the-box templates that can be used for internal assessment as well as vendor and third-party assessments. Now, Qualys Policy Compliance is the industry leader in configuration management, and it provides out-of-the-box 1,200 plus policies with 22,000 controls, along with the ability to create and customize your own controls and policies, and a coverage of 450 plus technologies, including the exotic technologies like Redis, Kafka, Splunk, for which even CIS benchmarks are not available. And then you will be able to track and report against 100 plus frameworks, including NIST, ISO, FedRAMP. Now, if you're a VMDR customer, or you are using a security configuration assessment tool for free, all you are getting is ability to assess only for CIS benchmark and report against them. SCA is an excellent solution, but it has its limited capabilities, which does not fully encompass with the policy compliance solution, which is a full management solution. It helps you to report, respond, monitor, prioritize your misconfiguration, and the mappings to the frameworks that are available with it. As per the anonymous data survey, we have found that the customers who have been using policy compliance have 98% less time and cost for all their audits and mandate frameworks that they have been using it for. Now, these are the business outcomes of policy compliance that we have done based on the survey of our customer data. And we have found that with policy compliance, you have up to 98% time savings, and it improves the overall compliance posture by over 50%. So now let's switch to a quick demo. So we are very excited to show you the new UI for Policy Compliance 2.0. Okay. So leveraging the intel and insights of the data that we have after you have tagged your assets in CSAM or asset inventory, we will be able to generate the insights. So in this, as you can see, there are 4.6K assets that have been tagged for your NIST assets. And out of that, 2.8K are critical assets and 1.7K are the middleware assets. Now, these have not been assessed for compliance. So with these intelligent insights, all you have to do is one-click policy enablement for starting the policy compliance trial. Once I click on the trial, it will automatically take you to the home page. This is the new policy compliance. Now, it provides a seamless three-step happy path onboarding. No need to know what technologies are running in your environment, download those policies, gone are those days. This is the new policy compliance. It's a three-step process. Since we already know your data, what technologies are running in your environment, we have pulled in all the data. So all you have to do is select the framework, select the technology, we download the processes, run the assessment, and get the dashboard ready for you. So let's see how it's going to do. Once you click on onboarding, it's going to suggest what compliance frameworks you should be using, or you have the ability to choose and change those frameworks. So since we found in the first step that you have the NIST-related asset tags, we have recommended that you start the assessment for NIST 800-53 plus NIST CSF framework. However, you have the ability to customize and choose any more frameworks. Once you have selected those frameworks, it takes you to select the technologies. Now, we already know what technologies are running in your environment from the asset inventory. So we provide an option if you would like to skip this step or proceed with whatever technologies have been found and tagged in the environment. You can set the priority for benchmarks. You can drag and drop whether you want the CIS, DISASTIG, or any other frameworks. That's it. All you had to do was simple onboarding and leave the heavy lifting on us. Now, you see, once all these steps are completed, we will activate the agents for you on all those assets, download the policies automatically based on CIS, DISASTIG, or whatever framework that you chose, scan, and it will show you the compliance posture and take you automatically to the dashboard. So your dashboard is ready for you. You don't have to select policies. You don't have to download it from the libraries, schedule scan, wait for that, and create a dashboard. So this is the new policy compliance dashboard. You can see it will show you the entire compliance posture with what your true risk score is. And for each and every mandate, it's going to show what is compliance posture at every requirement level. Along with that, what your top failing assets are, what procedural or technical controls that have been failing in your business unit. Now let's look into NIST 800-53. As you can see, it's fairly low compliant at this time with 32% controls. Since it's drill downable, when you click on the failed controls, it's going to take you to the posture tab. On the posture tab, it's going to automatically populate this query for mandate name and controls. Once you click on the QDS score, you will see that the controls QDS score, which is intelligently mapped to based on your CIS, diagnostic benchmarks, or MITRE attack mappings, as well as ransomware policies. And it will show you that your QDS score is right now 98 at the critical level. And similarly in the assets, once you click on the asset tab, you go inside and you will be able to see that your true risk score right now is fairly high at 983. And under that, it's going to show that the data is coming from misconfigurations and what are the failed controls that you need to remediate first in order for your true risk score to be low. So now there are two options available. Either you remediate those controls by creating a ticket in ServiceNow that we provide the rule to create the ticket and assign to the team. Once the ticket is created, your controls would be remediated. After the scan, the policy would be processed. Control posture should change from fail to pass. Or you could also leverage the auto remediation capability and create the remediation jobs using the new capability that we have as of now today. So under remediation, you could use automated remediation, which is the most recommended approach, or you could manually remediate those controls. So let's start with quick remediation. So as you can see, once I clicked on the automated remediation, I can select, it pre-selects all the technologies that have been identified, like the Windows Server, as well as the asset criticality of 1, 2, and 3, since those are the most critical assets. And to start with, it's going to select only the controls with low operational risk. Once that is done, we select the mandate that you need to provide, select the controls. You could always edit, add, or more controls, and create the remediation job. At the same time, you can exclude any host that does not require any critical assets you don't want the remediation job to be run on. And those controls can be disabled. Once the remediation job is created, it will take you to the remediation library history, where you can track the remediation job status, whether it's executing, completed, if there are any errors, drill down to it, see what controls have been remediated, what the assets the job ran on, and get all the details. Once that is done, your controls have been remediated. After the next agent scan, the policy is evaluated and controls posture would be changing from fail to pass, resulting in your overall compliance score to be improved. So last time the compliance posture was at 30-something percentage. Right now it's at 87% because you have remediated all your controls. Now, as you need to be audit ready, you would need these reports for your internal or external authorities. So we provide a quick mechanism to generate this unified report. So once you click on the unified report, you select the type of report, HTML, PDF, the policies you want to report it on, as well as the mandates. Once the report is created, it will show you a quick summary of what all the mandates you have selected, with some of the AI insights related to which controls needs to be remediated, how your compliance posture would be changed, and some of the recommendations in the report. It provides a unified visibility of all your technical and procedural controls, and at every requirement level, what is your compliance posture. So you don't have, if you have hundreds and thousands of controls across millions of assets, you don't have to go and check each and every level. We provide the visibility at every requirement level. At the same time, it will show you your procedural control status, and in the detailed report, you can go and see which controls passed, what is it evidence, everything available in this report. So this is the new unified report, and this report is available as of today. So that was the end of demo. I would like to invite Dominic on stage.
I appreciate it. Hey, how's it going? So I'm Dominique Dixon. Let me go ahead and change the slide. I live in Louisville, Kentucky. It's called Louisville, not like how everyone else says it, but it's Louisville. And I work at Humana, and so my time being spent there has been, for a while, it's been in the cloud. So I've been doing like a lot of cloud security, Kubernetes stuff, so container vulnerabilities and all of that stuff, and then started to expand our scope out. So from there, started to look at policy compliance. So at scanning all the different databases and servers and so on and so forth. Let me go ahead and. All right, so at Humana, what is Humana, or not what is Humana, but what does Humana do? So we're a health insurance company. So we provide, like obviously health insurance, so it's going to be dental, it's going to be vision, and that kind of thing. We have different kinds of wellness programs, and a lot of the pharmacy services. A lot of people didn't even know that, but we do have a bunch of pharmacies, and community involvement and provider networks. One thing that was pretty cool for our community involvement it was like 4 or 5 months ago. We all came downtown and we basically cleaned up like all by the river, and then we made a bunch of food for like the homeless, and we did, it was like 6,000 or 7,000 people there. So we do get involved with our community all together. But anywho, so I'm gonna be talking about some of the challenges that we have been facing, and what's our solution. And then why we chose Qualys to be our solution inside of this case, and then there'll be a couple use cases as well. All right, so starting off, as far as challenges, so at Humana, so we have, hundreds of thousands of devices out there, and it's pretty complex. So we have the servers and databases and network devices, the different kind of network devices. And then you have a lot of the middleware. So we have a bunch of app servers, so it's pretty complex. Shared responsibilities, the cloud, and I already said some stuff about the containerized type of environments, but there's a lot of technology changes, and so. There's a lot, and I'm sure a lot of you guys probably have to deal with this, but there's a lot of times where we're talking with some of the asset owners or some folks inside of IT, and it's always a change. Like, hey, yeah, so I'm sorry, we were using GPO to be able to manage this, but now it's going to be Intune. Oh, hey, this is, we were using basically XYZ, and then it changes. And so it's always changing. And we didn't have a full view of our a full view of the, as far as the actual attack surface, because we were in the cloud. I'm doing stuff there from a CSPM, a container standpoint, and then we have our vulnerability management program, and so we're scanning there, but we have not really been looking at everything like the configurations that's on the OSs or that's on the network devices. So there's a gap there. We're not sure if there's a configuration drift. We're not sure at that time, if there's a standardized baseline. Like, what are we going to even try to actually measure against? So something could happen, and we would have, I'm not saying we would have no idea why, but it's just a gap. We wouldn't be able to know, because you want to start with a baseline, and then that's your standard, and then you want to start to monitor what, all the different changes that's happening, like, from a compliance standpoint over to a non-compliance standpoint. So, like, yeah, with a lot of the lack of baselines. So I've spoken to a lot of different teams, and I'm not going to say what sort of tools or anything like that they were actually using. And whenever we started to actually do this, they didn't have any baselines. Like, yeah, we didn't really do anything here. It's just we thought this was the best practices. Just to be honest, I haven't touched this in a long time. We're like, wait, what? That's not a good thing. So we want to change that. And then us being a health insurance company, so there's going to be a lot of data that we need to so we have to protect our customers. There's going to be PHI. There's going to be credit card information. There's a lot of stuff that we have to protect, and we need to stay compliant. There's a lot of regulations. It can shut our business down. There could be a lot of fines, and so that's why it's highly important. And then control alignment. So we have been getting everyone together, having these communications, and we want to ensure that everyone's on the same page for the most part, just because whenever you deal with a lot of the teams that's inside of IT, they hate when a security comes over and says, you have to do this, or, so what we've been doing is having conversations with all these different teams and making sure everyone's aligned. We are trying to ensure the correct controls are a part of our baseline, and that's a process. It takes a long time, so we have to have a well-defined type of process as we are doing all of this. Now, as far as a solution, or what were some of our requirements? We wanted to make sure we were able to scan and a continuous scan, so not like scanning every week. We want to know if there's a configuration drift that happens like a few hours later or that same day and the next day. And a comprehensive reporting, so inside of our tool, and since we're already using some of the other parts of Qualys, like vulnerability management, web application scanning, we're starting to use the CAR module, so like we have a couple custom scripts out there, which we add that as a control as well, to bring everything together, to be able to see the actual bigger picture. And then we want to see active alerts. So like I want to be told if something happens, if something was changed that was non-compliant or that was compliant and then changed into a non-compliant state. I have to know, I want to know that information like pretty fast. And a customization. So from our standpoint, yes, there's all the frameworks out there. You have NIST, then there's like the CIS benchmarks and so on and so forth. But we're going to want some custom controls. There's going to be certain type of controls that we want to be able to custom out and have the control over that. It could be from like a logging standpoint, but like anything specific for our company's needs. And then have everything managed inside the same place. So like, have everything unified. That's what we were looking for or looking to have that's inside of a tool. And then another big thing is the different type of integration. So we use other tool sets for like our ticketing systems, and it was important to be able to feed the data in there, and so we can get things assigned out and tracked and stay on top of that information. All right, so why we chose Qualys? Obviously, I'm here for a reason. We chose Qualys because not because we already had it, so I don't want to start there, but it flows with our existing infrastructure. So whenever we were going and looking at a lot of these other tools, what was happening is the first thing a lot of the network teams like, oh no, okay, so you're gonna be scanning our network with like another tool? I mean, it's gonna slow things down, or there's gonna be like another agent installed? And so I was like, no, we're already using Qualys from a vulnerability standpoint. It's already there. We don't have to do anything except go inside the tool and hit a button. And then we have policy compliance turned on, and we do some tagging and like stuff like that. We're using all of our same scanners. It could be a virtual scanner. It could be a network scanner. Just like stuff like that. So it was already a good choice for us. And what we are using is CIS benchmarks. I'm not sure if you guys if you guys actually know all the different controls inside of CIS. Well, there's a level 1, and then there's also a level 2. For certain asset types, there's over hundreds of controls. I mean, if you look at the Red Hat stuff, I think there's over 300 and something controls, and I don't want to have to manually, start to create all of these controls. It takes a long time. And then a comprehensive solution, we can tie things in together. I heard a lot of the stuff about the true risk, the stuff that was coming out as far as ETM, to bring everything together. And it's kind of funny, I was inside the training on Monday, and I was in the policy compliance training. And I was like, I'm hearing all this stuff about a true risk and how you can see the bigger, here's the score, but it was inside of VMDR over and over again. I was like, I have a question. Why aren't we tying this into policy compliance? And they kept saying, hey, it's here, it's coming, so just, and I was like, oh, that's a fantastic thing now, so I'm pretty excited. And then whenever I was talking about integrations, we feed everything inside of ServiceNow to be able to create our tickets and have them assigned out. We also have like a risk calculator that we do in there, but we're going to be looking to actually leverage some of the information in true risk and trying to expand our scope there to be able to identify what type of assets have like the highest type of risk, and let's start paying attention back over to those as well. But yeah, we already have other things in there like our pen tests, so on and so forth. So it's nice to be able to have those different kind of integration pieces. Some of the outcomes. So starting off, we enabled policy compliance. Once we had a couple use cases, we identified our tool. We weren't smart. I'm not going to say we weren't smart because that's like I'm calling myself stupid. But we didn't know everything, so it was like, you know what, let's just go ahead and turn this on for all the servers. It's easy. It's already there. But that wasn't the best way to do it. So we wanted to get some type of alignment, start creating a process, start prioritizing what assets should we start to actually target. And with our prioritization list of assets, or I would say all the different type of technologies, like, Qualys has the coverage, so there's a CIS benchmarks for a bunch of network devices. It could be databases, and so it was a lot easier for us to be able to build out or to use those policies, because there's a huge list inside the library there. We did some customization there. And then like scanning, obviously, you hit a button, it starts scanning, and everything is good. We start creating the tickets with the integration pieces. And like overall, it's starting to bring everything together. So, we have our CSPM, the container stuff, the vulnerability management stuff, and now we're adding our policy compliance pieces, and we're expanding our scope out. So we had started small a couple years ago, and we've been hitting, a bunch of other network devices and databases, and we're starting to look at tablets as well. So it's been great. Oh, it looks like I need to hurry up. So here's like a few other things. A lot of the out-of-box library that they have to offer, that's been helpful, so we don't have to spend time on trying to build a bunch of custom stuff. We do still have a couple custom controls, but it saved us a lot of time. The different kinds of integration pieces. Now, our different IT teams, they were able to leverage Qualys' API inside their pipelines to do a lot of the golden image scanning from a policy compliance standpoint, just to make sure that we're completely compliant whenever they're doing all their new builds. And that is all I had. I'm sorry I had to rush through it. I know I was already hitting the time, so I appreciate the time.
Thank you, Dominic. That was a great presentation. Can we switch back to the previous deck? Now, since we have established that compliance is the most exciting session of the day, without taking any more time, as call to action, please scan this QR code to start your 30-day free trial. And hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.